Okay, brilliant. I think I'll kick things off. So hello and welcome. A happy Tuesday to everyone. My name is Matthew Tompkins, and I'm the head of product for Growth Engineering's app solution. So just a little bit about myself. I've been with the company for about 4 years now, and really started off in the kind of social media side of things and the kind of marketing team. Then kind of got involved with some of our kind of biggest clients like L'Oreal, HP, and then kind of worked my way up to kind of product manager. I'm really kind of passionate about our kind of app solution, and now kind of a large part of my job is to really study what the modern learner actually uses their mobile device for, and kind of bring that to the world of L&D, kind of backed up by our kind of research-backed approach, which I'll kind of touch upon in just a moment. So first of all, kind of thank you for taking the time to join this webinar. I hope you're all safe and well. I'm really excited to share what we've got in store for you. As kind of Harry has posted in the chat, if you do have any questions, please feel free to post them in there, and I will endeavour to answer whatever you throw my way on the kind of subject of mobile learning and how it can help you to achieve every obstacle to engagement, which is the title of this webinar. So finally, just a bit of kind of housekeeping. If you wouldn't mind just putting your microphones on mute, and then without further ado, we can begin. So here's the kind of battle plan that we've kind of got in store for you. So to start, I'll be sharing a bit about the kind of engagement challenge that kind of everyone in the L&D industry kind of facing up to. And then I'll take you through how you can use a research-backed approach to really turbocharge your mobile learning strategy. And then we'll finish off with some case studies from our actual real-life clients. And then I'll give you a quick demonstration of Growth Engineering's app solution, so that you can kind of take away bits and bobs, and then you can kind of go away from this kind of webinar with some kind of actionable tips that you'll be able to wow your learners with. And just a quick note, I do think now more than ever, it really is super important to kind of share our kind of knowledge within the L&D industry as we really face up to the kind of challenges of this kind of new world that we kind of find ourselves in. So I'm really excited to kind of dig in and kind of help you guys along the way and turbocharge that engagement for you. So just a quick word on who kind of Growth Engineering are before I delve right in. As I mentioned, I'm part of the Growth Engineering team, have been for the past 4 years. We were founded back in 2004 by our fearless leader and world-renowned learning guru, Juliette Denny. And our mission is simple, really. Our mission is to really wage war on dull online learning and make it as engaging as possible. At Growth Engineering, we really pride ourselves on being the engagement experts. And over the past 15 years, we've perfected the recipe to get the most delicious, engaging cocktail in the learning industry. I'm so sorry, I've just got to check something. Bear with me. Sorry, my sofa delivery. Joys of remote working. Yeah, that's perfect. Yeah, thank you. There we go. Right, I'm back, guys. I'm so sorry about that. Of course, the sofa delivery turned up just as I'm relaying all this beautiful engagement knowledge. So Growth Engineering, we are all about kind of turbocharging engagement. We are the engagement experts. We've won over 100 industry awards, and kind of the most relevant one for you guys today is that recently we won the best use of mobile learning with our wonderful client, L'Oreal Travel Retail. So let's delve into the challenge. This is kind of a challenge that will kind of resonate with a lot of you on the call here today. Most learning technology solutions don't make a meaningful impact. In fact, only 8% of CEOs say that they see a meaningful business impact from their L&D program. Now, traditional thinking kind of tells us that the success of an L&D program lies within completion rates. That thinking is really kind of outdated, and we can do more. Traditional thinking also tells us that employees are desperate to learn about an organization. And again, that kind of thinking is outdated. We as L&D gurus and experts and people that are passionate about it, we really need to spark that kind of curiosity. And if you don't, your L&D program won't have any business impact. And if it doesn't have any business impact, then your kind of budget is really a kind of serious risk. And today I'm going to help you avoid that. I really want to see engagement levels with all of you go up. I want to see kind of behavior change being implemented, and I want to see real kind of business impact, and get that stat up from the 8% CEOs that say that they aren't seeing that, because we believe that we can get you to a place where meaningful business impact is achievable. So what's actually missing from the mix? So as I mentioned, traditional thinking would have us conclude that L&D success is measured by content completion rates. However, that way of thinking fails to tell us if your training program is actually changing behavior or having real business impact. So the goal of any successful L&D program should be to kind of get to this place of behavior change. And behavior change doesn't come from a singular learning moment. Just because a piece of content has been released into the world and it's been completed and everyone's got 100%, it doesn't mean that it's landed with the audience. It doesn't mean that we've achieved that behavior change. So just taking it as an example, so we've kind of worked with client sales teams who are on the front line every day, and until we worked with them, the kind of approach to training would have been a few hours of e-learning in an attempt to kind of introduce a bold new philosophy. And sure, they might ace all that content, as I said, they might get 100%, but when they get out into the real world, old habits will soon start creeping back in. And that is really what's missing. You want to get behavior change, and that's what's missing from the mix. And you can't have behavior change without the title of today's webinar, without engagement. So how do you go about engineering engagement? So we at Growth Engineering really like to take a research-backed approach to overcome these kind of learning challenges that you guys face every day. So what do I mean by kind of research-backed approach? Well, the human mind has been in production for hundreds of thousands of years. The mobile solution that I look after at Growth Engineering, slightly less than that. So for this reason, we take a research-backed approach in order to drive engagement across our technologies. And that is really what everyone across L&D should be doing. In order to make the correct decision over what technology to use, it's really important, and it's super important, to understand how people actually learn. If we understand how they learn by using this research-backed approach, we can then adapt the kind of lots of technology that we now have at our disposal in the 21st century for that specific purpose of getting our learners learning. So whenever you look at a feature list, whether that be Growth Engineering or someone else, you should be asking yourself why that functionality delivers engagement. What kind of research-backed is kind of behind that piece of functionality? Sure, it might kind of make logical sense, but is it actually backed by some sort of research that kind of you need to get that engagement that will kind of lead to behavior change, which will lead to business impact? And if it does get that engagement, you'll soon find that learning in your organization will become a habit and not viewed as an intrusion on an employee's day. It'll be seen as part of their job to maximize their expertise. So everyone's a winner. You're a winner as kind of L&D figure, and then also the people within your organization are upping their skill set. And that is all through this research-backed engagement drive that we're going to take you on today. So we kind of spoke about learning challenges. So I'm just going to take you through some of those challenges now. So the first one comes from my good friend Herman Ebbinghaus, all the way back in the 1800s. I am going to first address, there is some debate in the L&D world over the kind of exact nature of the forgetting curve. But essentially, the kind of key takeaway is that we as humans forget things over time. It really is as simple as that. And that happens because things aren't reinforced. So if you go to a training event and you teach your learners something, then getting the learner to kind of recall that 6 months later at the kind of point of need from that training module that they took 6 months ago is a massive ask. And that's why organizations often see a poor return on investment from L&D. A one-off learning event simply isn't enough. And that was kind of prevalent back in the 1800s. And in today's world, with kind of all this research it's been done, it is even clearer. So your mobile technology really needs to cater for that. It needs to be driven towards knowledge reinforcement and making sure that your users don't become victim to the forgetting curve. Next up, I'm going to go out on a limb here and say this is everyone's favourite taxonomy. This is Bloom's taxonomy. I'm sure most of you on the webinar will be very aware of Bloom's taxonomy. So on the kind of first step here, you'll have the knowledge of the topic, and then as you progress, you'll become more familiar with it, and the knowledge will turn into behaviour change, which is the kind of goal of your training program, and it's the goal of any successful training program. So for years, L&D departments have tended to kind of focus on the first three steps. So we're looking at the remember, understand, and apply. And then sometimes the other stages are then left to kind of other areas of the organisation, such as kind of like line managers, kind of evaluation side of things, or even worse, those kind of later stages are forgotten about, and then that's when behaviour change isn't allowed to kind of come to its fruition. So L&D programs should really strive take learners from every stage of Bloom's taxonomy. Again, it's that place where behaviour change awaits and learning is confidently implemented in the real world, which is exactly what you want. When you set up a learning initiative, you want that to be played out in the real world. And challenge number 3 is motivating your learners. So working in app development, I can talk to you all day about making the learning experience more accessible or the mobile journey easier to navigate. But ultimately, you need to answer the learner's question of, well, what's in it for me? And this isn't a selfish question by any means. People just want to feel connected to your learning program and know what the outcome of that training actually is. So if you look at the self-determination model, it's all common sense, really. The application of real-world learning will be hindered unless you provide a platform that encourages knowledge sharing, self-led learning, and the kind of ability to demonstrate competence. So without these motivating factors, you'll be denying your L&D program of real business impacts, which is kind of what we touched upon at the very start, which is kind of what the CEOs want to be seeing and what you guys want to be seeing as well. Challenge number 4. So moving on from the motivation that we just talked about and moving towards actual habit forming. So moving from motivation to habit. So what we're looking at here is the hook model, which tells us that we can create habits within our learners using triggers, actions, variable rewards, and investment. So this is actually one of my favorite models, having come from that social media background that I mentioned earlier. It really is important that you excite and delight the human mind, and users will invest in the training journey that you then provide. Also, as I'm sure you kind of encounter in your kind of day-to-day lives, when we encounter something that's difficult or hard to do, it's very important that we're rewarded for it if we're going to do it, if we're going to want to do it again. So we love, as human beings, we love seeing our progress as a marker for continuous improvement. That is exactly how habits are formed. And if you don't believe me, just kind of take a look at some of the world's most popular apps that I'm sure you guys use day in and day out. So we're talking about your Fitbits, your Audibles, your Duolingos, and they really take the mundane task of walking, in this case of Fitbit, or reading, in the case of Audible, and learning a language, in the case of Duolingo. They really take those mundane tasks by giving you experience points and leveling up and getting badges, and they take that to dizzying heights of engagement. And it kind of works for kind of everyone, of no matter what your age. I know that my granddad is obsessed with his Fitbit streak, and he's always bragging at kind of family meals about his kind of latest 10,000 step streak, or that he's walked the length of the Serengeti over the course of a month because it's given him a kind of badge for that. So it really does work for kind of all ages, and it will really help you to establish, by understanding how this model works, how you can start forming kind of learning habit within your organization. Okay, so next up, no, this is not a marriage it's not a marriage proposal. I'm not asking you to get engaged. What we're actually going to do next is just reveal a 5-step plan here at Growth Engineering for getting more engagement on your learning platform. This kind of engagement that we are proposing will lead to behaviour change. Is obviously the kind of goal of your L&D strategy. And then this will lead to that kind of real business impact that those CEOs and you guys want to see. So first up, Growth Engineering are massive advocates of gamification. And I think in the past, gamification has certainly become something of a buzzword that's then been misrepresented as an answer to all learning challenges. And it's certainly not that. There is no silver bullet. What a gamification should be applied to. It should be used as an effective tool that's part of your wider engagement strategy. So gamification, for those of you who don't know, is about taking something that is not a game, and it's about applying game mechanics to increase user engagement. It'll increase their happiness, and it'll, more importantly, increase their loyalty to your online training program. I think in kind of the kind of case studies that I'm going to show you in just a bit, you'll kind of really see that with kind of our clients logging on multiple times a day to kind of hit those certain gamification levers that we put in place for our clients. So everything that we do, or everything that kind of gamification is all about, it's meticulously designed to engage the learners, whether that be from their very first login to their kind of 1,000. So it really is all encompassing across their entire learning journey. You can't complete gamification. It's something that kind of will keep pushing learners on and really driving that engagement. So just a kind of few examples of gamification, but there are kind of more out there. You could deploy things like XP, badges, leaderboards, and streaks to really reinforce knowledge and lead to that business impact. Just a kind of little stat. So since turning on gamification features across our platforms, we've seen a 50% increase in traffic. And what kind of L&D program out there wouldn't want to see a 50% increase in traffic? You need to start using these kind of engagement levers, such as gamification, and really driving those kind of usage levels up, getting people completing content, and resulting in that real business impact that we've been speaking a lot about. Next up, on kind of Growth Engineering's engagement strategy, it is social learning. So with kind of social learning tools, you can create a learning community that promotes a knowledge-sharing culture and prevents intellectual capital from leaking out of your organization. So as we discussed earlier, you'll want to guide users along Bloom's taxonomy right the way to the very end of that. You don't just want them taking tests and stuff. You want them actually kind of sharing that knowledge, analyzing that knowledge, and sharing it with their peers. And social learning is exactly the kind of platform you need to be providing. So it really does enable you to fulfill this goal. You'll have an engaged social learning community kind of bursting with more knowledgeable employees if you implement social learning. That really is the L&D dream. Again, another kind of stat on social learning is that 90% of all workplace learning happens informally. So your learning technology program really does need to help facilitate this. Quite often organizations kind of employees will set up their own kind of Facebook group, but you don't really want that kind of going on where you can't like capture it. You want that to be within your kind of learning platform, so that you can ensure that there's no knowledge loss within your organization. Then next up, we've got what we call at Growth Engineering, which is epic meaning. And this essentially is adding that personal touch to a learner's journey that really keeps them coming back for more. So your learning solution should feel like your organization's home, reflecting its own look, its own feel, its own values. And when I kind of show you the Growth Engineering products later, so some of what our kind of clients have done, you'll notice it doesn't look like a growth engineering product. It feels like a L'Oreal product or a HP product. And that really kind of, it drives engagement. It makes them feel like they're part of your organization and they're actually contributing towards it. It really lets them know that their training matters, that all their actions matter, and they aren't just a cog in the system, but they're valued by your organization's family. This will then allow you, in turn, to take themselves and your organizations to unparalleled heights. You'll all be pushing together under this kind of under this learning platform, bursting with epic meaning, all pushing in the same direction, and really kind of increasing the knowledge base of your platform and getting that real business impact that you crave on it. And then another stat, so 77% of L&D professionals think that personalised learning really is vital to that employee engagement. So it is really backed up. It's something that kind of people want, and it is a proven effective tool that is epic meaning. Next up, obviously, as an app product manager, I'm going to be a massive advocate of mobile learning. But I kind of really just want to kind of emphasize why. I mean, it does make your learning more accessible and more convenient for a mobile app solution. And also, it puts you on the front line of those kind of people that you are competing against. And you're not competing against kind of small fish here. You are competing for a user's engagement from the likes of Facebook, Netflix, Instagram. Your users are only one tap away from those guys. But the good news is that with a mobile learning strategy and kind of all that of the good stuff that we talked about earlier, like kind of epic meaning and it feeling like your organization's home and the social learning side of things, you can realistically compete with them. Your organization will command their attention as their employee. You, through having an effective mobile learning strategy, can harness the power of those push notifications to get their attention. You can set social challenges that they can do on their phone. It's super simple. They can just take a photo of a kind of about some sort of learning challenge. Maybe it's kind of the best shop front. They take that challenge, they post that, and they post that on your social community, and it's all done from the device that they're accessing the most. And you can suddenly deliver training on the kind of most accessible thing to them. So they can take that training on the train. Gone are the days where you're doing it in a dark, dingy office and everyone's being sent to do some compliance training. You're delivering it direct to their device. And you really are. I mean, we're going to touch upon in just a second the kind of engagement levels that we see. And you really are competing with the likes of Facebook, Netflix, and Instagram. So yeah, I mean, it is just amazing what you can do with the power of mobile learning. And with that, users will stop doing TikTok dances and they will start really engaging with your mobile learning platform. Another stat on mobile learning, so 64% of learners find that accessing their training content from a mobile device is essential. So this really is what the user wants to see, and you need to start reacting to that. And mobile learners typically study 40 minutes longer than desktop users, which kind of makes sense. I mean, especially kind of in the kind of side of L&D that I'm in, which is mobile app development, at command attention. You can be flicking on your phone. You can all you are is a tap away from logging onto your kind of mobile learning platform, and the users are straight in there. So it really is an effective, engaging tool. And then finally, on a kind of 5-step program, we've got microlearning. So now that you know your kind of competition for engagement in the forms of Facebook, Netflix, and Instagram, you should be shaping your kind of content learning strategy to maximize that engagement. So you should be delivering that training in short, sharp bursts. Our kind of recommendation, but there is no official limitation, would be content that lasts between 2 and 5 minutes. It's kind of rare that when you're on YouTube or if you take a section on Duolingo, that you kind of pick anything that goes on for longer than 5 minutes. The kind of benefit of that is suddenly the learning becomes manageable. You can spread it across various units, and then users will both absorb that training and actually take it because they know it's not a massive undertaking. So again, it really caters for the modern learner. It will result in increased engagement and content completion rate, and then that in turn leads on to that real business impact that we've been talking about. And then another stat from the Journal of Applied Psychology, microlearning makes the transfer of learning at 17% more efficient. So again, efficiency really is key. So that is our kind of 5 top tips for learner engagement that really leads to that behaviour change and real business impact that we want to see. So next up, I'm going to take a quick gulp of water because I've been speaking for a while, and then I'm going to show you what that looks like when it's implemented. Slide now. So at the start of 2020, sorry, I quite blatantly ripped off Spotify Wrapped, and I created the Knowledge Arcade Wrapped, which is for our app solution, the Knowledge Arcade. So this is kind of a look back at the engagement levels in 2019. We'll also do one for kind of 2020 as well. And at the end of this, actually, I might kind of update you and send out another one of these for our kind of learning engagement history in 2020 to date, because those numbers are even more staggering and kind of even bigger. But as a kind of glance at 2019, we really kind of looking at these numbers. So what you're looking at is the average time spent on the app per user per day. And really, for the first time ever, at kind of Growth Engineering in the past 2-3 years since we've moved into this kind of mobile app world, we are seeing figures that compare to the likes of Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. So even at the kind of lower end of the spectrum of Europe, we're spending 17 minutes on our mobile applications per user per day. Just imagine what you could do with 17 minutes with your users every single day. And that is because of those kind of thriving social communities that we talked about, the powerful gamification elements. And that is exactly the kind of time that you want to be looking at to take a user right the way through Bloom's taxonomy. So it is kind of leading to that behavior change that you want to see. But kind of time in front of the screen is kind of all well and good. But what does that actually mean from a learning perspective, which is kind of what you guys will be interested in? So looking at the kind of average logins per user, we're looking at 484, which is more than once a day. And that kind of level of engagement really is mind-blowing. To kind of imagine what you could do with that. And I know that in 2020, and for like some of our clients, it's even higher. You're getting people logging in 7 to 12 times a day. Average content completed per user stood at 54, so that's more than one piece of content a week. So our app solution really is proven to stir up this kind of yearning for learning, and it really is engaging. And then we've already touched upon kind of social learning, but this is what our kind of app delivers from that front. So on a social learning context, users posted an average of 133 times in 2019, which is kind of more than my friends would post on Instagram or Facebook. So it kind of really shows that our application produces this kind of knowledge sharing culture. Then you've got 512 replies per user. So this is users jumping on to answer questions and solve learning challenges together. And then a testament to the real quality of the kind of social learning that goes on across our applications. The average user posts 3,292 per user across 2019, which is awesome. So next up, I'm just going to delve into one of our kind of client case studies. So this is L'Oreal Travel Retail, a client that I work with very, very closely. So just to kind of give you a kind of brief kind of background on them. So in the kind of Asia, they're kind of spread across 31 countries. They speak a variety of languages, and they represent multiple brands. So they don't actually work for Growth Engineering. They don't actually work for L'Oreal. They work at kind of airports and ferry ports So L'Oreal needed to have this super engaging mobile platform that would get people logging in and actually taking their training content, because without it, they were only allowed to take these people out of work for 4 training sessions a year, and even then they weren't compulsory. So they needed to deliver engaging learning solution that was in their pocket 24/7. So what they've kind of succeeded in, just switch over to that. So when they kind of launched, they had certain targets for kind of unique sessions, set at 7, as you can see. The result was actually 63.9. E-learning completed, they set a target of 2 per month. The result was actually 6.6. But of course, anything could be new and shiny and exciting. What you want to see from your learning program is it gets more engaging. And that is exactly what you get with our kind of applications. So L'Oreal, a year later, they were seeing more pieces of content completed a month, so actually double. It went from 6.6 to 13, spending more time on the app. So now at 19 minutes and 10 seconds per day, and that was about a year ago. And now kind of fast forward to the kind of present day, and those numbers have continued to grow. So kind of since then, we've had successful rollouts, not only in Asia, but also in North America and South America. And in fact, the app now serves over 6,000 BAs across, which is their beauty advisors, across 34 countries. And the application has really become more than a learning platform. It's this community where people come together to share product knowledge, cosmetic tutorials, and unleash their passion for the beauty industry. And that really sounds, and it is, them taking that journey up Bloom's taxonomy, and really becoming more kind of knowledgeable members of staff and seeing real business impact, which I'll touch on in just a second. So all this success has been recognised with that kind of Brandon Hall Gold Award that I mentioned earlier for Best Advance in Mobile Learning. And these are I've kind of taken off some of the most recent stats from L'Oreal. So they're visited on average 8 times a day by their end users. They spend an average of 29 minutes and 15 seconds on the app every single day, that's per user. With our content authoring tool, Beanie, they've been able to roll out 13, they've been able to get users completing on average 13 modules every single month. They've also, through our engaging functionality battles, which I'll touch on in a moment, the average user for L'Oreal answers 810 questions every single month. So you can say goodbye to the forgetting curve. Knowledge is being reinforced every single day with L'Oreal. They've created that thriving social community that we talked about, rivals alike, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And then what does all this lead to? Is from a business impact side of things. So L'Oreal territories using the app reported a 20% increase in sales revenue that wasn't seen by territories who weren't using the app. And then when we rolled out with these territories and the app was being used by them, that 20% increase was then replicated when they rolled out again. So the app was directly responsible for 20% in sales increase, and that's kind of something that we can prove. And then a more recent case study is that unfortunately, due to kind of global circumstances, they've been unable to do their kind of classroom training. So all of the training has gone through the application, and this has kind of led through certain training campaigns for whether it be lipsticks or other cosmetics. This has actually led to a record-breaking sales period because they've been able to drive things exclusively through our application, and it's led to direct sales that can be linked directly to what happened on our application. And these are just kind of some of the testimonials that have come from L'Oreal. So it kind of fits their ever-growing millennial population. It's a place where people learn and share, and it, as they kind of go on to say, it is really led to kind of business impact, and because it's so engaging. So I'm conscious of time, so I'm just going to go ahead demo now. Switch onto my mobile device. Just bear with me a second. Remember, if you have any questions, please post them in the chat, and someone from Growth Engineering will give me the question. Sorry, so Growth Engineering, are we able to reassign the host to my mobile account? That's okay. Okay, I think I can now share my screen. Sorry about that, guys. Let me just stop that share and then share on my screen. Perfect. Cool. So today I'm just going to quickly show you the knowledge arcade. Ooh. Sorry. There we go. Okay, so I'm just going to quickly show you the knowledge arcade. So this is our super engaging learning environment that's been condensed into a mobile app. So the kind of basis for the knowledge arcade was to kind of create a learning environment where people can access their training whenever and wherever they desire, never missing a thing. So we really, as I kind of touched upon in the kind of theory behind it, we wanted the mobile app to blend seamlessly into a user's life. So it does borrow that effective functionality from the likes of Netflix, Facebook, Instagram, Duolingo, and many more. And we are always on the lookout for these emerging trends to kind of ensure that the app is at the forefront of the learning technology space. Go back quickly. So as I mentioned during kind of theory side of things, it is super important that the app is kind of highly customizable learning environment that does feel like your organization's home. So what you're looking at on screen now is just some of our client applications. So you'll notice that apart from the one that is kind of Growth Engineering branded, they don't look and feel like a Growth Engineering product. And this really does ensure that immersive learning experience that people want to be a part of multiple times a day. And that's why we get those industry-leading results that I showed you just a moment ago. As I also mentioned, something that you really should be kind of harnessing and get this kind of engaging mobile strategy is you should be harnessing the power of push notifications, and the Knowledge Arcade allows you to do this. So users will be alerted when you publish a new piece of content, or when someone has replied to your social post, and this really helps to develop that thriving, engaging learning community that you want to be seeing that will drive real business impact. With our application, you can also create custom notifications. So this could range from breaking company news to a classroom reminder, just even like a little burst of Monday morning inspiration to get those logins happening, to get that engagement up, to get that real business impact kind of resonating across your business. And with the targeting functionality, it really does mean it's the fastest way of getting a message to employees. So you can target the entire population, specific groups, such as sales and marketing, or even the kind of individual user. Cool. So I'm just going to quickly log into this is our Growth Engineering app. So as I mentioned, Growth Engineering are kind of gamification crazy. We think it's a really powerful engagement lever. So every action across our application, no matter how big or small, is kind of reflected with kind of users being rewarded with XP, to encourage this behaviour and encourage learning as a habit. So what that score you're seeing at the top of the screen, the 9,625, that's the total XP on this user's journey to date. And kind of also on the top right, you've got your kind of notification bell. So this is very, very similar to Facebook. And that means that all those awesome push notifications that I was talking about a moment ago, it means that they're all stored there, so nothing gets left behind. So this kind of scorecard page that you're looking at now, this is a gamified record of your learning adventure to date. This kind of homepage serves as a launch pad for self-development. It inspires that thirst for knowledge, and it instills that sense of learning with purpose that we've talked upon, that is super engaging and leads to that all-important behaviour. So right at the top, we can see these kind of gamification elements that we like to use. We've got streaks, we've got a streak meter, and this is designed to ensure that users keep coming back to the training platform. It keeps people engaging with your training program, and straight away you can see the streak mount up live as they're rewarded for logging in and completing your content. The section below will let learners know how far they've come, so how many badges they've collected. You can also turn on the option to see where they are in the leaderboard, or how much experience points they have collected. And then we've got a piece of functionality on the app called Battles, which I'll touch upon in just a second. But also on this page, you can see your kind of battles history as well. It gives you a breakdown of your win, draw, loss history. So that kind of encourages you to keep using the functionality, kind of keep logging into the app, to keep bettering your kind of learning. And then the final section, we have gamified content completion. So everyone loves filling up progress bars. And on our application, you can easily identify the kind of training categories that you need to complete. So whether this be kind of health and safety category, you can find out if you're halfway through that, and you can dive straight back into the action to fill up that bar, hit 100%, and get that rush of endorphins for kind of knowing that you've completed something and leveled up. Or you could also set these kind of categories to kind of skill sets, like sales, objection, negotiation, and then you as an admin kind of dive in and see where users need to improve. And if you're a learner, you know where you need to improve yourself. So it's kind of that self-led learning that we spoke about with the self-determination theory, which leads to that really engaging stuff. Next up, we'll just take a quick look in the library. So one of the kind of beauty, or one of the kind of expectations of kind of mobile applications is that training is available at the kind of point of need. It's kind of available at the point of need. If it's going to be that engaging platform that you want it to be, learners need to know that they can quickly go into this app, they can quickly get the training they need and then come out of it again. So with our application, we do put the kind of search functionality front and center. So it kind of acts as your organization's Google, Bing, or even Ask Jeeves. So you can quickly search for health and safety, and then all the health and safety training will come up. And again, this kind of library is gamified, so you can click on things and it'll let you know. In this example, it's 44% complete. And then when you click on a piece of training or tap a piece of training, you get a breakdown of what's involved. So how many slides is it? So if you're on a train, you know you've got X amount of time to complete it, and you've got the gamification elements, like how many badges are attached to it, how much experience points. And then just like your favorite Netflix show, you can also download it for later as well, for that kind of all important offline learning. Then going back to the library, you've also got your to-do list. So this is where learners will find the content and courses that kind of you've pushed their way. It really highlights the important training that might be geared towards a campaign, or that compulsory compliance training or kind of onboarding training that you need all your learners to complete. And the final tab on the library, you've got a kind of a nice learning history of your learning journey to date. So you can find out where you need to improve, where you can collect more badges, where you can get more experience points. You can tap on those and dive back in and improve your kind of learning scores. Then, as we delve into the kind of social aspect of the application, this is our clubs page. This is what we call at Growth Engineering clubs, and this is where you create discussion points that kind of center around maybe a particular discussion point, or a brand under your organization's umbrella, or a global news club. You can have clubs in kind of infinite reasons. And these clubs can all be fully customized to represent those discussion points or various brands. Users can subscribe to clubs of their choosing, and they'll receive a push notification alerting them when someone has posted. You'll also be notified when someone replies to one of your social posts. And these, again, as I've kind of touched upon, these kind of powerful push notifications help drive that engagement and create that thriving learning community that leads to business impact. These clubs, as it is important to kind of mention, they will have a familiar feel to the user. They consist of that functionality that they've already experienced on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, and that's super important if you're going to get people engaged. You're not asking them to do some sort of alien piece of functionality. It's kind of what they do on their mobile device anyway, and that really creates that knowledge sharing culture that you want. So on these social feeds, you can ask learners can ask questions, they can share their expertise through images, videos, links, documents, and these can all be liked and commented on. And as it's our solution, of course, these actions are then gamified to encourage knowledge sharing. So users will receive XP points for posts, replies, and likes. And then quite often, these become more and more, these social clubs are actually being used for kind of classroom training. So it really takes learning to that kind of more than just that one-off event where learners fall victim to the forgetting curve, as I mentioned earlier. So with clubs, we kind of seek to make that impossible. So before a classroom event, tutor could provide helpful materials in the club to whet a learner's appetite and get those brains buzzing. Then during the event, the challenge can be set overnight to reflect on the day's learning. And then after the classroom training, learners can dive back into that club to ask any lingering questions. Plus, it's also a great place for after the event that you can kind of also provide feedback as well. So really, thanks to our social learning functionality, learning becomes more than just that one-off moment in time, and it does lead to proper behaviour change. Some additional functionality I just want to kind of highlight. So here you can share training content to these social clubs. So we really put the learning back into social learning. All you do is tap on that post, you're taken to that piece of content, and learners can devour it. You can also do post sharing from like club to club to ensure that no one misses anything and that knowledge loss becomes impossible. And then also, probably my favorite feature on the social side, you've got the translation functionality. So this has been a real game changer for a lot of our clients where knowledge was kind of previously lost within certain areas of their business, whether that be a specific region, a specific country, or a specific language. Now they can unlock that knowledge and just tap on the social post, hit translate, it will run through Google Translate, and suddenly that knowledge is unlocked for everyone in the organization to benefit from. And then finally, you can also throw out polls to your users as well. So you can throw out a daily question to your learners to get them thinking, and then this will identify any knowledge gaps. So you could use this then kind of plug a knowledge gap. You could go away and create a piece of content if there is any knowledge gaps discovered through polls, and you can ensure that your organization has got all of its knowledge that it needs. And you can also throw out daily questions to reinforce knowledge as well and make sure users don't become a victim to the forgetting curve. So it's all about this kind of engaging functionality that users want to see. And then finally, on the kind of social aspect, as I said, it's really, really important that users kind of experience the stuff that they would be used to on kind of popular social media platforms. So one of our latest pieces of functionality comes in the form of Clubs Live. So this is the idea of, so this is the new sofa that just got delivered. So Clubs Live effectively uses that kind of super engaging functionality that you see on the likes of Instagram Live, Facebook Live, and suddenly you don't have to hold expensive training events anymore. You can say hello to these kind of engaging classroom events in your pocket. Your kind of experts can maybe host a quick 10-minute Q&A, answering any questions that you can kind of answer. You can ask questions on this. And it is a super engaging way of kind of getting learning across quickly. And then these are then saved and they can be viewed on the app later as well. So this is a really exciting piece of functionality that we are looking forward to kind of rolling out over the next few weeks. So you guys have just got a little sneak peek of that there. And then finally, so I've kind of touched upon it a few times. We've got our battles functionality. So this actually came about from having conversations with content creators who were worried, as I've kind of touched upon, is that kind of forgetting curve, users answering a question once, taking a piece of training, and then forgetting all about it. So in reaction to that, we created battles to make that impossible. So this feature lets learners compete against each other in player versus player quizzes. It will draw questions from kind of question banks that you've already written for kind of previous training. It will draw 5 random questions from a desired question bank. You'll battle it out. Whoever answers the most questions correctly will win the battle. They'll win the experience points. And they'll also get one over on their colleague. So it's super simple to dive in. Just hit randomize, or you can drop down and select the battles you've got access to. You can hit randomize again, and it will choose your opponent. Hit prepare battle. So it will kind of break down of our kind of battle history to date. So I've won 6 battles. Alyssa has won 0. Just hit declare battle. And now Alyssa would have got a push notification on her mobile letting her know that battle has been declared. And then we just go through kind of answering these questions. And whoever gets the most right will win the battle. I'll just go through these. Whoever gets the most right. So this is now pending. So I got 3 out of 5. And Alyssa will complete her battle. And then I'll get a push notification letting me know if I've won. If I have won, I'll be able to send her kind of a bragging message and gonna get the bragging rights over the growth engineering office. So yeah, really good piece of functionality. And as I kind of mentioned earlier, it's been super effective in kind of getting knowledge reinforcement out there. And with this functionality, users complete on average about 810 battles questions per month. So it is really effective and really engaging and solves that problem of knowledge reinforcement, which will then lead to real business impact. And finally, I just want to show you the kind of progress area. So as we've kind of gathered from the application, all of this is fed into kind of weekly leaderboards by collecting XP. So it's weekly and monthly leaderboards to encourage that kind of engagement. And then you've got your badge cabinet as well. So users can go back in and be proud of their progress to date to keep those engagement levels up. But also they can dive back in, find out what badges are grayed out, tap on those badges, and then they're taken straight away to the piece of content that they need to get that badge. So it both encourages their kind of historical engagement and their engagement going forward. So it's a really powerful engagement tool that will lead to real business impact. And then finally, you've got that kind of streak section of the app as well. So that is a really quick tour of the application. I'm sorry I kind of run out of time towards the end. I just want to kind of leave some room for questions. So if you guys have any questions, please drop them into the chat. That'd be great. I can see one question, but I can't actually. There we go. So hi Matt, thank you for the webinar. You mentioned social learning. I'm able to make it work in my organization. Could you give me some tips on how organizations can make social sharing work, particularly amongst older demographics? Yeah. Sorry. Okay. So cool. Thank you for your question. So it's just a few kind of social learning. Just asked for some social learning tips. So kind of off the kind of top of my head, so just some kind of successful ones that work for our clients. So I really like the idea of creating an admin character that can kind of that can be accessed by multiple people within your organization, and this admin question will kind of stoke kind of curiosity, or it will kind of post learning challenges. It will ask users for their opinion. Everyone loves a platform where they can share their opinion. And if you create this kind of admin character to kind of answer competitions or kind of questions or ask them for their knowledge, people will answer, and people do respond to that. So L'Oreal, a client who I work with very, very closely, they will quite often ask people for their opinion on how to apply this kind of product, and everyone's got their own way of doing it. So everyone then ends up sharing that knowledge, and then other people learn from it. So that would be my first advice: is to kind of open it up and say that everyone on your platform is an expert, and get them to kind of share knowledge. I also really like the idea of creating narrative through social learning. So that kind of battles functionality that I showed you earlier, a lot of our clients through their social channels on the application will create a narrative around it. So whether that be a tournament style where they post weekly standings and they have like grudge matches. So that is a really effective kind of piece of kind of social learning functionality as well. And also just kind of rewarding your kind of most active learners with kind of expert status on your social platform. Is also another key one. So it gives people something to aim for and know that their social learning quality gets recognition, which kind of in turn will lead to more effective social learning as you go forward. Cool, thank you for that question. Is there any more questions? Of course, I've got a question from Daniel. Okay. Got a question from Jenny. How much time do you need to spend creating content and keeping on top of chat functions? A one-person L&D team. So yeah, so that's a great question, Jenny. Thank you so much for that. So we have a lot of clients that are in a similar position to you, with the kind of one-person L&D team, and the kind of growth engineering functionality is often geared to kind of releasing the burden from these small admin teams. So I certainly feel your pain, and it's something that growth engineering does consider. In terms of, I'll address the kind of content one. So with our content authoring tool, Genie, which there is a webinar for, I think in 2 weeks, I'll kind of follow up with you on that one. But we kind of gear ourselves to be able to create content on the fly. So some of our kind of clients report they've been able to create content in kind of under an hour, which for kind of content creation is kind of rapid. So you can really get content out there. You can also schedule content ahead of time, and that's also in the kind of chat functions that you kind of mentioned. So you can schedule your entire month of social learning, all those kind of questions that I touched upon by stoking curiosity. You can schedule those ahead of time so that it only takes up one kind of day out of your month, and then you can just dive into the app every now and then and kind of answer people's questions. But what you'll find is, if you follow our engagement strategy, it's that learners will create that thriving community and kind of release the burden from admin. So thank you for that question. Next question: how do you assure and rate the quality of contributions? So I'm going to assume that comes that's on the kind of social learning side of things. So we've actually got some client data recently that kind of looks at kind of spam content, and what we've actually found is that as the kind of engagement levels go up, our clients measure spam by kind of under 5 characters. So it's very easy to kind of respond to any kind of social media post with a few emojis. What we want is actual kind of quality social learning to occur. And we find that across our applications, because of things like ethic meaning, where it feels like their organization's home, and the fact that we give them a platform to become an expert, what we've actually found is that the amount of spam content is actually going down, and it kind of real kind of quality social learning is occurring on our applications. So that's kind of one way of measuring it, and another way is just the kind of user to user liking. So we get a very high engagement rate in terms of social learning, like post likes, that kind of reinforces the idea that our social learning is of a very high quality. So what game mechanics do you find particularly effective as part of these programs? So I do really like the narrative idea that I've touched upon. I think it's really compelling to kind of hold competitions and kind of create kind of a seasonal kind of attitude to learning, where kind of everything refreshes after a certain amount of time. I really enjoy that. I'm also a massive advocate of streaks. I find that really effective. As I kind of mentioned, my grandparents absolutely love it. I absolutely love streaks. And I think there's just something about kind of knowing that you're working towards a behavior change outcome, but just kind of breaking it down day by day, and you're seeing your progress day by day. So those are the ones I find particularly effective, and so have our clients. And again, I just want to touch upon how effective the battles functionality is as well, which is that kind of player versus player quiz that our users are answering 810 questions per month on. So thank you for your question there, Jess. If there's any more questions, please post them. I'll kind of hang around for the next minute or so. But if not, thank you so much for taking the time to watch this webinar. And I hope to see you again soon. There is another one next week from Growth Engineering's other product managers. So please head over to our website and check those out. But in the meantime, stay safe and have a great week. And I hope to speak to you all soon. Bye.